What's dignity? It's hard to define. It's like trying to define liberty or justice. They're hard, but it doesn't mean we can't take a stab at it. Just because it can't be defined like acceleration or mass, concepts from my former identity, doesn't mean it can't be usefully defined. It turns out it's easier to go backwards to defining dignity and to start with indignity, because everybody in the world, in this room, knows exactly, feels it immediately when they are subjected to indignity. It can be overt, like an insult, or it can be just a small raising of the eyebrow that signifies that the other person holds you in contempt. We are acutely tuned to detect indignities like this because we're tribal animals, and an indignity like that is a precursor to banishment, and banishment is death if you're a tribal animal. We don't do well on our own. We last a few days on our own. So inclusion in the group is crucial to our survival, and we're tuned to pick up the slightest threat to it. And then we get a chance, because we're so good at detecting it, of offsetting it, of overcoming it before it escalates, and lo and behold, we're sent across the ice or out into the forest or out of the clique in high school or taken off the email list. I'm going to read you the greatest poem ever written about dignity by Emily Dickinson. Quite a few of you will know this poem. I call it the Nobody Poem. She was thinking about this stuff 200 years ago, leading an isolated life in Amherst, Massachusetts. I'm nobody. Who are you? Are you nobody too? Then there's a pair of us, don't tell. They'd banish us, you know. That poem puts her finger right on the essence of being nobodied. It's banishment. It's being excluded. And which is why solitary confinement is torture. Because we can't live, we can't eat, we can't get shelter without inclusion. But more than that, we can't even sustain our own identities because they are dependent on constant interchange of information with other members of the same species. I mean, a dog will help, but another person is better because the other person shares the memes that we throw back and forth at each other, and which, when we receive and send, we suddenly exist. That's why old men tell the same story over and over again. They are trying to keep their identities intact, which are threatening to fall apart every day. But by telling the same story, they can momentarily resurrect their old identity and feel whole and feel heard. So dignity is extremely important. And what happens when you're denied it are very bad feelings that can easily escalate to feelings of revenge. That's why this is so important for organizations and for countries like America, the biggest dog on the block we are, to treat other countries with dignity, because if we don't, they will harbor fantasies of revenge and sooner or later act on them. Sooner or later, we'll have an international Columbine. You could say we've already had one 7 years ago.